The whispers are gone. Silenced. But a new melody of chaos plays in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's ending. Aerith's fate, once seemingly set in stone, now shimmers with uncertainty. Cloud, haunted by his past and driven by a newfound resolve, defies the boundaries of destiny. Timelines, once separate threads, begin to intertwine, threatening to unravel everything we thought we knew. What does it all mean? Where do we go from here? The whispers may be quiet, but their absence screams of a grander design, a hidden purpose waiting to be unraveled. Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth culminates in a cliffhanger ending, leaving plenty open for the next installment to explore. As the second installment in a three-part series, it's somewhat obligated to. There's a lot yet to come for the FF7 remake project. Still, FF7 Rebirth's final moments aren't unsatisfying. They resolve many of the central questions posed in the first game and its sequel, even if they raise just as many to be answered in the as-yet untitled Part 3. Despite all theories to the contrary, Aerith still dies at the end of FF7 Rebirth. Leading up to its final moments, the story of the original FF7 remains the same. The party learns that Sephiroth seeks the Black Materia, a powerful item capable of summoning Meteor and destroying the planet. Aerith comes to believe that by praying at the Forgotten Capital, she can summon Holy, a force capable of opposing Meteor. However, she doesn't share that theory with the rest of the party. Whispers swirl around Cloud as Aerith kneels in prayer. They compel him to take up his sword against her, but he fights the urge. However, black feathers soon appear in the air around Aerith. Sephiroth descends from the ceiling toward her. Cloud sees him at the last moment and attempts to block his attack. The resulting clash sends Sephiroth flying, but the damage is done. Aerith slumps forward as a glowing orb of pearlescent materia, the white. Materia used to summon Holy rolls out from behind her hair ribbon and into the water below. Openly sobbing and distracted by Sephiroth, Cloud fails to notice the white materia. Sephiroth mocks his empty emotions, trying to manipulate Cloud once again into believing he's a thoughtless, selfless clone with artificial memories. Surrounded by wisps of Mako, Aerith raises a hand to Cloud's face in a final burst of strength. She comforts him, and he promises to avenge her. The rest of the party rushes into the morbid scene as Sephiroth monologues about the complex cocktail of emotions rapidly filling the room. Cloud lashes out at him, and it's time to fight. The final boss of FF7 Rebirth can take a full hour to complete, swapping rapidly between Jenova and various forms of Sephiroth. However, it begins with a straightforward battle against Jenova Lifeklinger. She mostly casts area of effect attacks all around the arena. Simply dodge those and chip away at her HP, and she'll be defeated before long. As soon as Jenova is down, the scene cuts to Zack in a seemingly endless void of white mist. As he rushes forward, he comes across Cloud. Zack immediately recognizes Cloud from their time together in Soldier, but Cloud doesn't respond to his presence at all. When Zack claps him on the shoulder and asks what he's been up to, the mist melts away, and Zack finds himself on the field of battle alongside his friend. Thus begins the fight against Sephiroth, who remains in human form for this first phase. With the two Buster Sword wielders working in tandem, it's pretty easy to stagger Sephiroth, and from there, to run out his HP. But just as Cloud and Zack have Sephiroth cornered, he swings Masamune downward and snaps the ground in two. This effectively splits Cloud and Zack back into their own respective worlds. Before he can go, Zack has some final words for Cloud. Save her. This suggests that Cloud can somehow reverse Aerith's death in Part 3 of the remake trilogy. In a plume of purple smoke, Sephiroth transforms into the mutated Sephiroth Reborn. The following section cuts between three separate but closely related boss fights. Cloud fights Sephiroth's lower half in his world, Zack fights Sephiroth's upper half in a dilapidated version of Aerith's church, and the rest of Cloud's party fights a Bahamut Arisen Whisper, a powered-up whisper that takes the form of the FF series' recurring Bahamut summon. Cloud and Zack's fights share a common mechanic: attack Sephiroth's weak point before ascending to his head. The Bahamut Arisen Whisper segment of this fight is by far the longest and the hardest. It employs powerful ranged blasts, devastating claw swipes, and unblockable lasers. Its only weakness is that it's slow to move, so the party should take advantage by staying within range as much as possible. Sephiroth, now back in his human form, acknowledges that he underestimated Cloud. He challenges him to a one-on-one fight, but Aerith marches out of the mist to help. For this fight, Cloud should focus on staggering and damaging Sephiroth, while Aerith supports through heals and wards. Sephiroth continues to manipulate Cloud, but Cloud simply brushes him off. Eventually, Sephiroth acknowledges his momentary defeat, but Aerith warns Cloud the fight isn't over. Sephiroth flies away as the Whispers gather once again. This ending reveals that FF7 Rebirth takes place in two separate timelines. Cloud and his party exist in one, while Aerith and Zack remain alive in the other. After defeating Sephiroth and rejoining the party, Cloud cradles Aerith's body, crying out to her. To his surprise, Aerith blinks and smiles at him, as if she's still alive. Cloud also sees a vision of the white materia falling into the water, but still fails to understand what it means. Zack then wakes up in the Midgar Church, as it appeared in FF7 Remake and Crisis Core, mostly intact and full of flowers. He ponders aloud whether the battle against Sephiroth was real, but determines that it felt too real to be a dream. Now firmly convinced he briefly visited another world, Zack decides to reunite the two timelines once again. However, it's strongly implied that only Cloud and Zack are aware of the other timeline, likely because of their common connection to Aerith. In an epilogue, Barrett and Cait Sith help Sid tune up his plane, the tiny Bronco, as Tifa, Yuffie, and Red 3 mourn Aerith's passing. However, they don't notice that Aerith appears to be standing right next to them. The player sees these events through Cloud's eyes. He speaks directly to Aerith, asking her for advice on what to do next. So only Cloud can see into the other world, and he'll likely use this knowledge to help the party along in the FF7 Remake trilogy's final chapters. FF7 Rebirth's epilogue scenes set up a few of the major players likely to appear in Part 3 of the trilogy. One scene opens with Rufus in a Shinra office, where he offers his compliments to a hooded man named Glenn. Glenn is the product of Shinra's earliest attempts at genetic modification. He appears briefly in the Battle Royale game Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, and is a playable character in the mobile retelling of the FF7 compilation Ever Crisis. Rufus, however, has realized that Glenn is trying to distract him from Sephiroth's rise. Glenn briefly takes on Sephiroth's form, swearing to achieve the late President Shinra's dream by finding the promised land of infinite Mako. He walks away, but Rufus shoots him down. What role Glenn plays in Sephiroth's plan remains to be seen. However, it's clear that Shinra's efforts to find the promised land will bring them into conflict with Sephiroth once again in Part 3 of the trilogy. The next cryptic scene shows two glowing, porpoise-like sea creatures rising from the depths. These may be a new take on FF7's weapons, giant monsters created by the planet to defend itself against Genova. The 5 weapons make up some of the original FF7's toughest late-game bosses, so they're likely to appear in Part 3 of the Remake trilogy either way. Finally, the main party finishes work on the tiny Bronco. Cloud says what he thinks will be his final goodbye to Aerith. However, she tells him she intends to stay in his world. She'll remain there, praying to stop Meteor, while Cloud and the rest of the gang go after Sephiroth. Cloud promises to stop Sephiroth as the plane doors close, but the game ends with an ominous title card. No promises await at Journey's End. This seems to call into question the expected course of events in the third part of the trilogy. Will Cloud actually make good on his promise, or will the story diverge from the canon in new, unexpected ways? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the enigmatic finale of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the tantalizing hints it offers for the future in Part 3. As we eagerly await the next installment, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all things Final Fantasy. And be sure to share your theories and interpretations in the comments below.